yes, in the dark, distant years of the 1980s, PCs were a rare commodity and gamers basically gathered in arcade halls. Back then, a racing game called Outrun was one of the most popular in the arcades. A lot has changed since then. Now you can play against your friends online and never have to move from your computer or put on clothing. Outrun, however, has survived the massive changes, and the new section of this game was designed specifically for online racing fans. Let's take a look at the Outrun Online Arcade.
Everything you need to know about the new Outrun release is that you can get from the game's title. This is an arcade racing game that supports online play. You should keep in mind, although, that Outrun is a series with its own traditions and history that won't be forgotten. Outrun Online Arcade is exactly what the game was in the 80s. Speed, crazy turns, and incredibly vivid graphics. The creators of Online Arcade decided based on their game Coast to Coast, released in 2006. This means that we're looking at good old-fashioned linear racing. No matter what mode you select in the game, you're only going to get to your goal as fast as you can move from point A to point B. This turns out way more than needed, as the cars and the courses are just there to supplement the game mode, which are the main point.
The most interesting among the modes, at least from our perspective, are the traditional time attack and the heart attack. In the first, go figure, the player just has to drive as fast as possible. In the second, he's got a passenger, a girl. The goal is to satisfy all the requests she makes while driving. If you succeed, you win hearts from your passenger. The more hearts, the better.
Heart Attack is actually an incredibly interesting mode. You'll have to maneuver through oncoming traffic, do some drifting, and even knock down bananas. You're not going to get bored. The online mode, in some respects, pales before all these possibilities. The only thing being online offers is the opportunity to race with 6 participants and a voice chat. Not bad, but we wanted something a little better. As mentioned earlier, Outrun is based on Coast to Coast for PlayStation 2. The graphics haven't evolved much between the two games. Online Arcade still looks pretty good, but it's no Ridge Racer 7. The biggest improvement is the screen resolution, which is now equipped with HD mode. Whatever the game lacks in graphics, however, it makes up in physics. Despite the fact that you're moving at outrageous speeds, car crashes only impact time and points. The cars behave as though they were made out of rubber. Particularly special attention has been paid to drifting on turns. The release fully meets our expectations. For little money, you can be entertained for 1 or 2 full days. Our rating is a 7 out of 10.
Games about World War II tend to be mostly first-person shooters and strategies. Occasionally, you get the rare flight simulator. By contrast, Velvet Assassin presents the Second World War from a spy's perspective. It's 100% stealth action. There's even more to it than that. The main character, Violet Summer, is actually based on a real-life figure, Secret Agent Violet Jabot. Let's check it out right now.
Velvet Assassin takes a player to the desperate scenes of World War II. The heroine's appearance is based directly on that of Violet Jabot, a real MI6 agent, posthumously awarded a Georgian Cross, the highest decoration in the UK. Will the choice of protagonist help the game or be equally critically acclaimed? Velvet Assassin is a typically stealth action game. The skills you gain playing Splinter Cell or Metal Gear Solid will come in handy here. The most important thing is to avoid being seen, otherwise the Germans will call for backup. In the unlikely event you survive, the damage will be great. The only real tactic to employ is to stay in the shadows and take out the watchmen one by one. Luckily, Violette is excellent at that. To kill an enemy with a single hit, you just have to sneak up on him unnoticed. Then use a knife or a pistol with a silencer. The creators included over 50 different animated final bows, so it turns out to be pretty interesting to watch, even though most missions don't let you change tactics. The end of some levels do, however, include free actions. This might be a fight with a boss, or an escape from a warehouse filled with landmines. At moments like this, Violette's so-called morphine will come in very useful. By injecting herself with it, time freezes for Violette's enemies. Velvet Assassin is probably best described as a Splinter Cell analog in a World War II setting. The creators definitely tried to make this game unique, but for the most part they didn't succeed. In the end, you'll be left with an average stealth action. It's not a masterpiece, but it's certainly no failure. Our rating is a 7 out of 10.
There are plenty of funny games for Nintendo DS, among them a surgeon simulator, a brain trainer, and all kinds of other stuff. Rhythm Heaven is the latest addition to the very long list. Now just imagine, you're able to play ordinary mini-games at the same time you compose music. Watch our review to see how it all happens.
Rhythm Heaven is a rather surprisingly a musical game. Nominally, it's a Guitar Hero's rival. The only thing we could come up with was the first part of the series, Rhythm Tengoku, which wasn't released outside of Japan. By contrast, Rhythm Heaven has been a major hit on the Touch. Basically, it's a collection of rhythmical music minigames. The game visually resembles the WarioWare, although the gameplay is brand new. There are 10 minigames, all told, each with 5 different levels. At the end of each minigame, you have to play a more difficult mix of stages you already passed through, and at the end of the game, you have to play a mix of the minigames. New stages also unlock as you go through the available ones, and an unprepared player could be easily shocked. As MarioWare, the games are highly original and, in some cases, even daring. Rhythm Heaven requires you to refuel robots, to tap a rhythm using a beat of a stork, and to even harvest turnips. The idea behind all these games is to act according to a strict rhythm. No matter what sort of action you perform, calling, clapping your hands, or kicking a ball, you have to do it in a predetermined rhythm. Controls are done with a stylus and belong to 5 general types. Among them, you could be asked to tap a rhythm, to move the cursor around the screen, defining a certain key, or to press a specified point on the screen.
The difficulty level is set fairly high. Your success depends on your innate sense of rhythm. If you haven't got one, trust Rhythm Heaven is bound to develop it in you. The creativity of the game developers is really astonishing. There's even a level that requires you to make the huge heads from Easter Island sing and spin turntables.
We should also pay some special attention to the music. The game has united all possible style from rock to disco to techno. The music is always very cool. The composer who wrote all of the crazy stuff is a guy called Sunuku. Even the most exotic Japanese games are bound to envy Rhythm Heaven. That said, it's a musical delight that certainly isn't for everyone. We rated an 8.5 out of 10.
Nintendo